just like before, if you guys have questions as we go into the presentation, not need to wait until the very, end. I'll be happy to, answer any of those questions that you might have. We're going to quickly skip through these first two slides because what I've already actually showed you those actual slides when we were here the other day, just talked about the events that we're doing. But once again, the actual skip program, if any of you have internships right now, you certainly want to make sure you take advantage, of that, as well as next semester in the summer, also. So of course, we're going to talk a little bit about preparing for the career fair, right? So what is one of the first things you think you should actually do before you start the process of preparing for the career fair, networking, things of that nature? The resume, absolutely, right? That is the first thing. I can't tell you how many students actually come into the office and they're like, no, Mr. Rucker, I want to start, networking. I heard you talk a little bit about it and the actual importance of networking and how it oftentimes can help you get your foot in the door, right? And then ready to go. And I say, okay, well, let's first take a look at your resume. And I'm like, oh, man, the last thing you want to do, of course, is try to start the networking process. And then that individual states to you, oh, no, what, share with me a copy of your resume. And you don't have one. Or you don't have one that's really polished. And we'll talk a little bit more about the actual importance of that. But of course, you guys
we're less than a week away.
That is correct. But with that being said, this is one of those times in the actual career center where we kind of drop things at times to actually help students because we know that STEM fair is right there. So you could, if you came in and got your emergency fair, you'd probably say, hey, no, let's take a seat and we'll get to you actually in a few minutes. But there's some things that you need to do when you're first starting the actual fair. And because of time, I'm not going to be able to actually walk you through exactly how to do this on Handshake, but we'll talk a little bit, about it and kind of go from there. The first thing I always encourage students to do is basically to create a list of the companies that you think you might be interested in. Right? The STEM fair is actually for 2 days, and there's going to be 100+ companies there on each day. Right? So you want to go on to the actual Handshake system. You click on Career Center or you click on Events. It'll actually show you the STEM fair. Right? You click on Employers, it'll show you everyone that actually will be attending. From there, if you click on Filters on the right-hand side, you could actually then plug in your major, and it'll show you every company that is attending the fair. Right? That said, they're willing to hire for your particular major. But with that, being said, right, Tony has actually stated, right, some companies just like, well, we can hire people computers. So don't just go by that, right? And with your particular major, what you guys can actually do, if I was in your shoes, I would be thinking every single company is a potential opportunity, for you to actually employ that. Along those lines. But I like to create a list of companies that I'm interested in. Of course, do some research on those companies. And the research is so important. I actually just did an actual job search presentation yesterday, and I was sharing stats with these individuals, and it stated that 47% of recruiters stated that they reject candidates simply because the candidate did not know much about the actual company. So think about it. You're at the actual career fair, you go up to that employer and you say, I might say, hi, my name is Ken Rucker. Can you tell me a little bit about your company? That recruiter is going to be super nice to you, right? Because that's their job. But most likely they're thinking what? Okay, not a good candidate, because the next person is going to come up to them and say, hi, my name is Ken Rucker. I saw on Handshake that you actually had this particular internship position, posted. I've already applied. I just wondering if you could share with me a little bit more details about the application. I was like, whoa, they already stood out. Make sure you do that actual research. Apply ahead of time if possible. Then be thinking, what is it that I bring to the table, right? What is it that I can say about myself that's possibly going to sell me as an actual individual? Maybe it's those hard skills. Maybe it's some soft skills that you that you saw possibly on that actual job description. Maybe it's because you actually looked at the someone. Anticipate questions, think about, questions that you want to ask.
And real quick, the reason he's telling you this, everyone on campus under college engineering is planning on being there. Your class is required, but this is their only opportunity to get an internship. They don't have a class like this. And so, I mean, it'll be packed, and there's going to be all the engineering students, all the computing science, computing engineers. It's going to be packed, and they're all going after the same internships that you want, because that's their only time that they have. They don't have a class to have people come in and recruit them. So it's all or nothing for them, and that's why you guys got to be ready. Okay.
So we're not going to spend a lot of time, on this, but as Tony has stated, right, you want to be thinking about at least business cash. I'll give you guys a perfect example. My first job out of college, I was a business management major, right? The funny thing is, I actually wanted to do engineering. Like, I grew up in poverty, so my thought was when I was growing up, I was like, what can I make the most money at? And I thought, you know what, I should become a doctor. And I didn't like school. I was like, man, it's school, I'm going to stay in school. So I thought engineering because I really enjoyed math. Somebody came up with this crazy thing called calculus. And I thought, so I was like, you know what, I just wasn't focused enough. So I went to business jobs. Online. Funny thing is later on, I became an actual math teacher. At that time, right? But my first job out of college, I managed a store called NTW, National Tire Warehouse. I did about $1.2 million. I put an ad in the Philadelphia Inquirer for an actual tire technician, somebody that was going to be changing tires. But one of our 5 guys actually quit. I went to interview 5 guys. The third guy, he came in, he actually had on a shirt and tie. Exactly. Right? And because he came in with a shirt and tie, you know what I said? Hire. Simple. Didn't interview the other 2 guys, didn't even want to actually interview him at all. Because of the simple fact that he respected the actual position, the individual he was going to interview with, right? And he believed that what? He never get a second chance to make a first impression. So he said, I'm going to present my best self. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go to the career fair, international suit, or that type of thing, but just know that what? There are going to be some individuals in there who are going to be business casual and what? Dressed even a little bit, nicer. So you decide. Right?
I want you to be professional. I want you to suit and tie. Because everyone that tells me our class outshines everyone else is there. And that's how you guys get the jobs of the computer science. So, but when you dress up, don't wear gym shoes. Okay? You have to wear dress shoes.
Thank you for that. But as you said, right? So you just never do that. So certainly don't think about that. But here's the big thing. Most students, right, when they go to an actual career fair, they're kind of nervous. They're thinking, okay, what in the world do I say? What am I going to say when I actually go up to this actual recruit? Just know this. We do something called first-time career fair tours. So if you've never been to an actual career fair, or maybe you have, but you're still very nervous, you can actually sign up for that event, right? It's already on Handshake, or you can just, come to the actual fair. We'll have an actual list showing you the actual time, and we'll be doing it. Somebody from our office will actually share with you a little bit of information, and then we'll actually walk around. When I do it, I actually pretend to be a student, even though it's gray hair, I pretend to be a student, so you can actually see what the interaction is like. But we want to figure out, what did you actually say? Like, you want to introduce yourself. Make sure that what? You got a firm handshake. You don't want to do this, right? I go to shake your hand, and look, I gave him the dead fish. Or ladies, right? You might go there. You don't want to do this, right? Like you're the Queen of England. At some point in time, maybe you'll find that knight shining armor or whoever it is, and they'll treat you like the queen that you are, right? But we want to make sure good eye contact, like firm handshake, as well. Those of you who've been working out, don't question yourself. You don't want to do that, either. But how am I going to introduce myself? What am I going this way I don't create that snowball effect. You don't want to actually go to the fair and think, you know what, I'm gonna win it, I got the gift of gab, right? Just talk and just say, you know, something, it'll come out. No, practice, of course, right? This came up from currently, RIT, you know, they can feel like UFC. I saw on Handshake that you guys have several internship positions, you know, posted. And I was super excited about it and actually have already applied for some positions. I just wondered if you could go ahead and share with me a little bit more information. That simple. And
You try that with this little companies first. If you're trying to get the big companies, that way you have a little practice before you go.
Absolutely. So Tony, stop, still some more practice, but that's it. Right. Absolutely, right? We're gonna talk even a little bit more about that. So what could you potentially say, right? So here's an actual, you know, example. One of the beautiful things about the actual career fair is that recruiters love to talk. That's what they do. That's their actual job. So it's not like you're going to necessarily carry the whole entire conversation. They are going to talk, you know, quite a bit. So what are you going to actually say? And unfortunately, some of that, right, is curriculum, IIT, you know, major I'm interested in, right? You simply fill in the actual, you know, blanks there. This past, you know, summer I completed, if you had an actual internship or some other type of experience, you can actually plug that, you know, in there, right? It's what I actually did. While at USC, I'm a member of, maybe you're a part of some type of organization. Maybe you served in a leadership role, right? Maybe your leadership role is usually captain of the NRO team. Right, that's absolutely fine, right? That still shows that you've actually, you know, done something, that you're involved. So be thinking, what can I actually say? Like, how can I actually, you know, do this? And we're actually planning on having an actual elevator pitch contest at some point here in the NCEC, and we're going to actually do it on the elevator. But right now, trying to get a company to actually, you know, sponsor it. So another example here for you to actually, you know, take a look at. Once again, just kind of fill in the blank, all right? So what your actual name is, your major, what appeals, you know, to you about this particular, you know, company, what you're interested in, the experience that you have. Once again, it doesn't have to be anything that's extremely, you know, aligned. But now, because I have this down, I know what I'm going to say. I'm kind of what? I'm kind of prepared. And like Tony has stated, right? What do we do when we first actually, you know, get there? So during the actual career fair, you're going to chart your course. You're going to walk in that day. We're going to give you an actual, once you scan the QR code, it actually shows that you're now there to attend. We're going to hand you a sheet of paper that's going to have a list of all the companies that will be there. On the back, there's going to be a diagram that lets you know what number table they are at. You want to take a look at that and now start charting your course. Because if you don't know who you're going to actually go and talk to, and let's say you only have an hour and a half. And let's say here's Amazon right here. That's going to have 50 people in line. I walk up, you know, in the career fair, like, oh, that's my top choice. I walk over here to Amazon, there's 12 people in front of me. Do I wait in that line? What do you think? It's my top choice though. Absolutely, don't wait, right? Take a look at your diagram and say, oh, you know what? I see table 36 over there. They're number 4 on my list. There's only one person in line. Let me walk over here, chat with them, now see if that line is actually valid. I want to make sure that you maximize your time. But here's one of the things that I do. Anybody here get nervous when they're talking to people? So you think you're going to be nervous at the fair? Absolutely, right? So once I create my list of companies that I'm going to actually go to, and I chart my course, let's say I said there's 10 companies I want to go and see. I then say, you know what? I need 2 throwaway companies. I don't mean throwaway where they're at. Maybe it's this company over here, this company over here, that I'm not interested in at all. So it's not a big deal. So what's your name? Peter. So let's say Peter is the actual recruiter, right? I'm walking up, he works for ABC Corporation, right? I see he's got his name tag on, and I walk up to go introduce myself, and I say, hi, my name is Peter. No, my name is Ken, right? No big deal that I screwed that up, because I wasn't interested in this company anyway, right? But now I got what? I got some of those nerves out, And now maybe I'm ready to start going to the actual companies that I'm interested in, right? Get yourself an actual practice, or two, if you think you actually need it. Right? Make sure, you're prepared, of course, right? Focus on your nonverbals. Make sure what? You're positive, right? That you're showing, energy. Listen and observe. My kids all the time used to tell me, they'd be like, Dad, you're always ear hustling when they were younger in the house, right? And I always be listening to what they're talking about with their friends. When you're in line, you want to ear hustle, right? You want to see, what is that student in front of me actually saying? Man, I just saw that the recruiter kind of perked up and got excited. Maybe you have a what? A related experience, like something that you could, possibly, say. So, utilize that time while you're actually, in ask meaningful questions, make sure you be confident, let them know that you're interested, like that. After the actual career fair, take a few notes. How many of you here have great memories? I'm born, I don't have a great memory. Even though I said after the career fair, actually, take notes. Every time I actually talk to a recruiter, what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually write a quick note about what we talked about. Why do you think that might be important? Absolutely, he nailed it. For the actual follow-up, right? How many of you have actually thought about following up after the career fair? You should be. Once again, it's another opportunity for what? For you to actually, stand out when you're actually talking what to those actual recruiters. Let's just quickly, go back here. Tony mentioned something out of script. He said, maybe you go to what? Some of those smaller companies. I'll give you a perfect example. It's had a young man in my CHE 202 class, and he didn't have the greatest GPA. And he wanted to get an actual internship. And because of where his GPA was, I said, listen, the strategy that I suggest for you is that you go to some of these smaller companies where there's not a lot of individuals going to their table. What you have a greater chance of what? Standing out now. Plus, we know that oftentimes your first job is not going to be your dream job. And that's okay. That's absolutely fine. Some of you might hit the jackpot, right from the start. But if I was a betting man, I would say, no, that's not going to happen. And that's absolutely, fine. So you want to say, okay, what strategies can I actually, start using that's going to actually help in this particular, fair. And know that we're going to always be there to actually assist you guys, as well. So you can always come and talk to us. Members of our team, not only here, at Career Center that's located in Swerve, but also in the Tom School provider. So be sure to follow up. That is actually, key. I also shared another stat yesterday in our presentation, and it stated that 82% of recruiters actually stated that when an actual person follows up, sends an actual, follow-up letter, a thank you, letter, that actually, plays in their decision making. So once again, it can actually, only help. So log in the Handshake, go to the actual, website, of course, apply ahead of time. How many of you have actually applied for internships? So several of them. Have you utilized the Handshake system on the ones you've actually found? Okay. All right.
How many has been to the STEM job fair before?
So, for those of you who've already applied, when you go on to Handshake and let's say you click on that actual employer, if you scroll halfway down the page, you'll see something where it says people. It'll show you 1 to 4 individuals. Those individuals are actually recruiters that actually work at that particular company. You could actually send them a message ahead of time before the STEM fair. So let's say there's a company, I found an opportunity on Handshake, I've already applied. Now I know the STEM fair is coming up. I would actually go to that list, and let's say there's 4 people on it. I'm going to actually send a message to at least 2 of them that simply says, look, I'm not going to actually apply for such a position. Super excited to see that you're going to actually be at the USC STEM fair on the 17th. Really looking forward to stopping by the table and chatting. What did I just do? I just stood out amongst everybody else. Because now they think that I am really, really, interested, in this opportunity. So even if that individual that I sent a message to isn't the one that's going to actually be at the career fair, most likely they're going to tell their colleague, hey, you know what, you should be looking out for this young man, can't run through, he's going to stop by the table. So now when I actually go up to that table, right, hopefully they have one name tag, maybe they don't. But I go to introduce myself, and let's say Peter isn't the one that I sent the message to, right? But I introduce myself to him. I say, hey, what's up? It's Peter. Super excited you guys are here. I actually sent the message to Karen, earlier in the week. I was excited. Oh, you're that individual. Yeah. Right? It can't hurt. How much time did it take you to actually send that message? Not a lot of time at all. Maybe what, 30 seconds? Great time to use ChatGPT. Then it creates a little message, for you and send it. But be thinking about what can you do as an actual student that's going to certainly, help you, stand out. And then once again, after you talk with that actual recruiter, try to get their actual, information. A business card if they actually have it. Just so that some recruiters might say to you, you know what, I don't actually have a business card. Just know we do have their contact information, so we're more than happy to actually share that with you. But sometimes a recruiter might say that because they're going to all these other universities, and could you imagine what their inbox would look like? It could be crazy. So some of us say, hey, I don't, want that. So it's not so much that they're not interested, So if you get a recruiter that says that, don't think that. It could simply, be that. They just don't want to deal with the action.
A lot of them have QR codes, so so they'll just stay here to take a picture of that.
Now, here's the beautiful thing, right? And here's the reason why you should actually apply ahead of time. And I've seen this thousands of times where students will go up and actually talk with an actual recruiter. And that recruiter will say to them, oh, no, and yeah, we have several positions posted on Handshake on our website. You should go ahead and apply. You want to be able to say, well, actually, I've already applied. What do you think should be my next step in the process? Or I've already applied. What can I possibly expect to get back from someone? So now let's say that recruiter says, oh, you should hear back from someone in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Then you follow up with, oh, if I don't hear back from someone within 3 to 4 weeks, should I reach out to you or is there someone else? I'm showing them that what I'm really, interested in them. I want to make them think that, you know what, they are it. They are the ones. You are the company that I really, want to, be with. I'm trying to sell myself and sell them on the fact that I really want that. Anything that you could actually, do, huge.
And to piggyback on that, some of them are 3 to 4 weeks, so you just have to wait, and you just have to wait through the process and keep getting them and so forth. But some of these companies are coming from Atlanta, Charlotte, Raleigh. They cover the whole Southeast and they hit every university and they're on a cycle. And they may just say, I need to talk, or like one person's at the table, they'll say, go ahead and talk to my boss. This is something that we need, and you're going to talk to them on the spot as an interview. And you got to be ready. Some of them will take you maybe tomorrow morning or the next night, that night. You just have to be on call. And so it's going to happen that fast.
Absolutely. And that's what we tell students all the time. You just never know. So be prepared for potential, interview right there on the spot. But because of the fact this career fair is coming up, right? You're trying to find an actual internship. You're applying for positions. You should have already been thinking also, you know what? I need something to be prep. You don't want to do that by myself. My son will tell you, he's like, oh, dad, he'll be like, I got to get the dad. Dad, I've been listening to you for so many years, been in the office with you. I got it, you know? And I'm like, no, you don't have it, right? You always want to, you know, practice as much as possible. So with that being said, make sure that what, you guys schedule an appointment with the career staff, like for interview preparation, like maybe doing a mock interview. Utilize the big interview site. Like you guys have access to big interview, you could actually go in and say, you know what, I want to do a mock interview right on my laptop. In my dorm, in my apartment. I want, you get to choose out from 5 different people. You say, you know what, I just want the basic questions, like tell me about yourself. Or you put in an actual industry that you're interested in. They'll ask you questions based on that industry. And you can choose from, you know, basic, medium, you know, advanced. It has AI features built in there that kind of give you some feedback as well. It will actually give you 30 seconds to think about the actual question, and then it'll actually record up to 3 minutes. You could actually save it, right? Play it back. You don't like it, delete it, redo it. It's one of those things you could actually send it to, you know.
It's one of our assignments.
Oh, it is?
It-
Okay, look at that. All
So
right,
you'll
so
have-
you guys are ahead again. Okay, awesome, all right. But make sure, so after that there, send that actual, you know, thank you note, talk to that, you know, recruiter as well. What else do you think you should possibly do? So you went to the career fair, you've actually already applied, you spoke to, you know, the recruiter, you thanked them, you're gonna send an actual thank you letter. What else do you think you could possibly do that might increase your chances? Anybody here ever set up an informational interview? Or know what an informational interview is? So an informational interview, right, is where you could basically reach out to a professional, or let's say even an alum who's an actual professional, who's currently doing something that you would like to do in the near future, and ask them questions about their journey, how they got started, things of that nature. So if I've applied, talked to someone at the actual, you know, fair, sent my actual thank you letter, I'm going to now try to connect with somebody at that company. Because sometimes it's not what you know, but what? Who you know. So how can I increase my chances? So now when I go to send my follow-up, let's say it's 3 or 4 weeks later, and I say to them, hi, my name is Kim Rucker. I actually applied for such and such position on this particular date. I also spoke with Peter at the actual USC, you know, STEM fair. Just wanted to reiterate my interest in the opportunity and still, and also see if there's any interest in my candidacy. Super excited after I spoke with John Jones, who actually works in such and such department at ABC Corporation. Now, what do they think? I stand out even more because they think that I know something about what? The company culture and really what they do versus someone who just maybe applied what we call like a blind ad. Saw it on Handshake, they applied. The stats tell us that what? People that get referred to an actual company stay much longer than those who do not. So now I'm showing what? That I know someone there, even though I really don't know this person. I just utilize the name drop. And of course I said.
And Microsoft said the same thing when they came in. Remember, they gave us some pictures of people and they said, reach out to them. So exactly what he's saying, they actually gave you names to reach out to.
And some companies have a referral bonus program. Like my wife works for a company called AstraZeneca. $600 referral bonus program. So if my wife refers someone, and when I say by referring, just saying, okay, no, Peter, you looking for a job? Okay, I'm going to actually, you know, when you apply, let me know. I'm going to refer you. Or send me a copy of your resume. I'll send it to the hiring manager. That's it. Peter stays for 6 months. My wife gets $600. So a lot of companies have that because once again, some companies will do that because they know that what this individual now knows about what the company culture, the values, what it's actually, you know, like. Because they know some individuals may find an actual opportunity, looks great on paper, they get there and they're like, man, no, it's really not a good fit for me. Now that company spends all this money on training them, getting them up to speed, and then you several months later. That's why companies will do that. So you might actually reach out to someone to set up an informational interview, and they could just be thinking, and that's fine if it actually benefits you, right? Because you still potentially get to utilize the actual. Make sense?
5 minutes.
So can't stress enough to make sure that you guys really take advantage of the actual opportunities that we have there. Tony also mentioned, so that the actual STEM fairs, if you can pre-register, it's not an actual requirement. Just know the one on the left-hand side will actually allow you to register for day one. That's actually, day two, right there. Once you actually register on it, where it says, see more employers, you click on that, and it'll actually show you all the employers that are there. Then remember I talked about the actual filter section, go to the right-hand side, click on filters, put your major, and show you those. Now, today and tomorrow, from 10 to 2 in the Swearingen building, we actually have what we're calling a mini fair warm-up. So we have about 6 companies that are there right now that are once again recruiting students. Some of them will actually be at the fair. And we told them, we said, know what? The way we're marketing this to students, you might have some students that stop by to chat with you who might be from an actual major that you're really not looking to hire. But we want you to know that that's going to actually happen. And they're like, that's great, we're totally fine with that. Because we told them, hey, here's an opportunity for you to actually help us prepare our students for the actual real STEM fair that's going to take place on September 17th to 18th. So those companies that are actually here today, Thompson Construction, Spectrum, Smurfit, West Rock, Landmark Construction, Polite Technologies, Ag First, and tomorrow we got Silvano, Nucor Building Group, Weed and Hut, Hawks and Beacons, Ag First is actually here. And then believe it or not, next week as well, we actually have a bunch of companies that are coming in. We just didn't call it, we didn't market it to them as maybe, creative thing, but there'll be a bunch of companies there on Monday and Tuesday, as well. But just great opportunities for you guys to actually, take advantage of that, practice your actual elevator pitch, what you're going to say, your actual handshake. I would certainly suggest you to practice your handshake. I can't tell you how many individuals who I, shake hands, with them after I do a presentation, and I have to say, I need to work on that handshake. Work on that handshake. It's certainly important because they're just not looking for, students. They're hoping that at some point in time that you are able to actually possibly represent their company.
There will be twice as many engineering companies there than IT companies, so we'll have to filter through. So don't get lost in the crowd trying to figure it out on the day of, because it's over 100 companies each day, so you're trying to sort it real quick.
You're researching at a time as well. Questions?
For printing out the resumes, like if we do have a resume that goes on to 2 pages, is it better to have them on separate pages or do 1 page like that?
No, definitely separate pages. But if it is I would say let us take a look at it and kind of see why it's on 2. I mean, it could be that you just have, great, experience, but let's see if we can get it down to 1, or let's make sure you wouldn't necessarily want to say, okay, I'm on 2 pages and my second page, it's just like 3 or 4 lines, 5 or 6 lines. And it's like, hey, something that's not, not right here. So you should be able to get it.
Let me show you something else too. Like you said, most of the time we want 1 page, but if you do have 2 pages because you've got a lot of work experience, that means you got to staple it. And it's not just putting a staple anywhere. There is a proper way that the people want to see it. They want it on an angle like that so they can flip it over and look at it. Because if you put it just like here,
it doesn't flip right. And so, yes, it's staple, but they're just, you know, they want it so it can flip and fold over real easy. So just be aware of that. Okay.
Any other
Other
questions?
questions? Okay, well, thank you, Ken.